You're sitting in your car outside Target at 9:47 p.m. on a Wednesday, staring at your banking app, trying to figure out if you can afford the $43 in your cart without overdrafting. Toothpaste, laundry detergent, a birthday card for your nephew, basic stuff. While you're doing poverty math in a parking lot, your coworker Sarah just posted photos from her second vacation this month. Cabo again. She makes the same salary as you, same job title, same paycheck, same rent in the same city. Yet somehow, she's on a beach with margaritas while you're calculating if you can buy detergent. So what is actually going on? Is she secretly rich? Did she inherit money? Is she drowning in credit card debt behind Instagram filters? My name is Keened. And the answer is going to make you unreasonably angry because it is none of those things. Sarah made one boring financial decision 6 years ago. It took maybe 30 minutes to set up. Then she forgot about it. That decision is now worth $43,000. In 34 years, it will be worth $2.8 million. And it costs about the same as what you probably spent on DoorDash last month. If you're tired of watching people with the same income live completely different lives, this is the math nobody taught you in school. Let me introduce you to two people. Person A, Jessica. She is 28, makes $65,000 a year, drives a 2019 Honda Civic she bought used. Her investment account has $47,000. Person B, Amanda. Also 28, also makes $65,000, drives a 2024 BMW 3 Series. Her investment account has $3,200. Both think they are doing fine. Both feel like their lives are basically the same. Now fast forward. At 35, Jessica has $162,000 invested. Amanda has $31,000. The gap is noticeable, but Amanda is not stressed. She feels young. At 45, Jessica has $535,000. Amanda has $94,000. Now Amanda is starting to worry, but she has 2 kids, a bigger house, and less room to save. At 55, compound interest has gone vertical. Jessica has $1.52 million. Amanda has $218,000. Amanda is searching how to catch up on retirement at 55 and realizing she would need to save 40% of her income. That is not realistic. At 65, Jessica has $4.32 million and retires wealthy. Amanda has $461,000. She is doing the math and realizing she will likely work until 72 at least. Same starting point, same salary. One is financially free, the other is stuck. What did Jessica do differently? She invested $500 every month starting at 22. That is it. $500 into an S&P 500 index fund automatically invested on the first of every month. Then she ignored it, checked it maybe once a year, said, "Cool, it is growing," went back to life. Amanda spent that same $500 on a car payment through her 20s and 30s. She always had a car payment. That is the difference between $4.32 million and $461,000. Now you are thinking $500 a month is a lot. Where am I supposed to find $500? Here is the uncomfortable part. You already have it. You are just spending it on things that will not exist in 40 years. The average American spends $273 per month on subscriptions they barely use. Netflix, Hulu, Disney+, Spotify, gym memberships they have not visited in 8 months, random apps they forgot about. That is 273 right there. And that is before we even talk about food delivery, convenience fees, random Amazon purchases, upgraded phones, or the car you stretched your budget for just to look successful. The difference between wealthy and stuck is rarely income. It is small, boring, automatic decisions, repeated for decades. Then there is dining out and DoorDash, another $280 per month on average. Add that to the $273 in subscriptions, and you are at $553 without even trying. Now here is what that money really costs you. That $280 restaurant budget invested instead becomes about $632,000 in 30 years at 10% returns. You are not spending $280 on dinner. You are spending $632,000 on dinner. That $273 subscription habit becomes $616,000 over the same period. Every month, you are choosing between Netflix and takeout, or retiring 7 years earlier. Most people do not even realize they are making that trade. Let me show you the math that breaks people's brains. If you invest $500 every month for 40 years in an S&P 500 index fund, you end up with about $3.16 million. Out of that $3.16 million, you only contributed $240,000. The other $2.92 million, which is 92.4% of the total, came from compound growth. You planted $240,000. The market turned it into more than $3 million. After 10 years, you would have around $12,000. After 20 years, about $379,000. After 30 years, about $1.13 million. The first $100,000 feels painfully slow. It can take around 10 years of steady investing. But going from $1 million to $2 million only takes about 6.7 more years, because at that point, your money is earning more than you are contributing. Now it gets even crazier. Someone invests $5,000 per year from age 25 to 35. That is 10 years. $50,000 total. Then they stop completely. At 8% returns, they end up with about $787,000 at 65. Another person waits until 35 and then invests $5,000 every year for 30 years straight. They contribute $150,000, which is 3 times more money. They finish with about $611,000. The person who invested for 10 years and quit still ends up about $175,000 ahead. That is compound interest punishing the delay. They did the right thing. They just did it 10 years too late. Now you might be thinking, but Keened, what if the market crashes? This is the fear that keeps intelligent people stuck. Let's look at the data. The S&P 500 has averaged about 10% per year since 1926, nearly a century. That includes the Great Depression, when the market fell 86%, World War II, the 1970s inflation crisis, the dot-com crash, 2008, COVID. Through all of that, the long-term average is still around 10%. After inflation, about 7%. That is still enough to turn $500 a month into around $1.3 million over time. Here is something even more reassuring. The S&P 500 has never produced a negative return over any 20-year period in history. Not once. If you invested consistently for 20 years, you made money. Over 30 years, the worst annual return was about 4.3%. Every crash has recovered. The 2020 COVID crash recovered in 5 months. The 2008 crash took about 5.5 years. And here is the part nobody talks about. If you are investing $500 every single month, crashes actually help you. When the market drops 30%, your $500 buys shares at a 30% discount. Dollar cost averaging means you automatically buy more when prices are lower. no timing required. J.P. Morgan studied what happened from 2003 to 2022. If you invested $10,000 and stayed fully invested, you would have ended with $64,844. If you missed just the 10 best days out of more than 5,000 trading days, your final amount drops to $2,978, which is less than half. 7 of those 10 best days happen during bear markets. If you panic and sell during a crash, you almost guarantee missing the rebound. The S&P 500 survived the Great Depression, 2 World Wars, 9/11, and 2008. But somehow, it will not survive you investing $500 a month. That is fear talking, not math. You are the thing that finally breaks capitalism. If the math is this clear, why are 46% of American households sitting on zero retirement savings? Why is the median 401k balance for people age 55 to 64 only $88,000? The problem is not math. It is your brain. Your brain is not trying to ruin your life on purpose. It was built 200,000 years ago when the biggest financial decision was eat the berries now or save them for tomorrow. There was no concept of invest 500 today and get 3 million in 40 years. So your brain says, eat the berries. And you finance a 60,000 truck. There is something called present bias. You would rather have 500 today than 50,000 in 40 years, even though the math clearly says that is a terrible trade. Then there is loss aversion. Losing 100 feels about 2.25 times more painful than gaining 100 feels good. That is why people obsessively check their portfolios during crashes and sell at the bottom. Studies show people who check their accounts once a year, or barely at all, are far more likely to build wealth. The less you look, the richer you get. Then lifestyle inflation kicks in. Every raise becomes a slightly nicer life. Better apartment, newer car, fancier dinners. Around 78% of people say they will increase savings after a raise. Almost none do unless it is automated. Your brain sees extra income and immediately upgrades your habits. Here's the part that should bother you. Everyone profits from your inability to delay gratification. The financial industry makes money when you panic and trade. They make almost nothing when you buy one index fund and ignore it for 40 years. That is why the boring solution is never marketed. Car dealerships stretch loans to 7 or 8 years, so the payment looks manageable. Every advertisement is fighting for your 500, not for your freedom, for their revenue. Your retirement is being drained 500 at a time. You probably think this strategy only works if you are wealthy. Let me tell you about Ronald Reed. Ronald Reed. He was a gas station attendant and janitor in Vermont. He never made more than $20,000 a year. He wore a jacket held together with safety pins, drove a 2007 Toyota Yaris with rust through the doors. Coworkers joked about how cheap he was. One of them said, if Ron made 50 in a week, he would invest 40 and live on 10. Ron died in 2014 at age 92. The local hospital expected maybe $5,000 in his will. He left them $4.8 million. The library received $1.2 million. His estate was worth more than $8 million. The same people who laughed at his rusty car had worked next to a multi-millionaire for decades and never knew. He simply bought dividend-paying stocks every week for 70 years and rarely sold. He could have retired early. He just enjoyed working. That is financial freedom. Then there is Sylvia Bloom. She worked as a legal secretary in Manhattan for 67 years, took the subway every day. When the lawyers placed stock trades, she quietly bought smaller amounts of the same companies for herself. When she died, she had more than $9 million and left $6.24 million to charity. Then there is Grace Groner. She bought 3 shares of Abbott Laboratories stock in 1935 for $180, and she held them. That is it. No secret inheritance, no lottery ticket, no crypto windfall. Just time discipline and letting compounding do what your brain struggles to understand. Boring decisions repeated for decades. That is the real cheat code. She reinvested every dividend and never sold. When she died in 2010, at 100, those 3 shares had turned into $7.2 million. Fidelity reports 59,541 401k millionaires. Their average contribution rate is 14.1% of salary. Average tenure, 26 years. That is it. Time and consistency. Now, the other side. Median retirement savings for Americans age 65 to 74 is about $200,000. Social Security pays around $19.76 per month on average. 1 in 5 Americans over 65 is still working because they have to. They worked 40 or 50 years and still struggle. They were not lazy. They just spent the $500 on car payments, restaurants, and upgrades that felt important at the time but no longer exist. People will spend 40 hours researching a $1,200 phone and 0 hours figuring out how to turn $240,000 into $3 million. The phone is worthless in 3 years. The investment could be worth millions in 40. But at least the camera works in night mode. Ronald Read died with over $8 million. The average doctor often dies with around $1.2 million in debt. Turns out replacing a 90,000 BMW every few years costs more than actually becoming wealthy. Now let's talk about the quiet fee trap that can steal about $200,000 from you. If you invest $500 per month for 30 years in a low-cost S&P 500 index fund charging 0.03%, you end up with about $1.124 million. Put that same money in a fund charging 1%, and you end up with around $915,000. Same effort, same timeline, roughly $209,000 gone to fees. That money did not grow for you. It paid the manager. The funds you want are simple. Fidelity Investments, 500 Index Fund FXAIX expense ratio around 0.015%. Vanguard Group S&P 500 ETF VOO expense ratio about 0.03%. Charles Schwab Corporation S&P 500 Index SWPPX expense ratio about 0.02%. Pick one. They track the same index and cost almost nothing. Here is the part nobody tells you about the 500 you think you do not have. The average new car payment is projected to hit $748 per month in 2025. That is not $748. At 10% over 30 years, that stream of money could become about $1.69 million. You are trading roughly $1.7 million for a vehicle that loses about 20% of its value the moment you drive it off the lot. every 100 per month invested can become around 226,000 in 30 years. Every 3.33 per day can turn into 250,000 over time. The money exists. It is just being redirected. Now let's talk about accounts. Roth IRA. You contribute after-tax money. It grows tax-free forever. The 2026 limit equals about $625 per month. On a 1.13 million portfolio, you could avoid roughly $150,000 to $200,000 in taxes. If you earn under $153,000 single or $242,000 married, this should usually be first. 400 ONEC. Contributions are pre-tax. If you are in the 22% bracket and invest $500 per month, your take-home pay may only drop around $390. Many employers match contributions. Most common match is 50% on the first 6%. If you earn $60,000 and invest $500 per month, your employer might add $150 for free. That is an instant 30% return. Here is the simple plan. Step 1. Open a Roth IRA at Fidelity, Vanguard, or Schwab. Takes about 20 minutes. Step 2. Link your bank and deposit money. Step 3. Buy one S&P 500 index fund such as FXAIX, VU, or SWPPX. Step 4. Automate $500 per month. Step 5. Ignore the account and live your life. I can show you the numbers. I can tell you stories about janitors who became multi-millionaires and high earners who ended up broke. None of it matters unless you act. And here is the truth about compound interest. It rewards action early and punishes hesitation. The clock is running whether you invest or not. Every day you delay, the math turns against you. Right now, $500 per month for 40 years can grow to about $3.16 million. Wait 1 year, and you may need around $520 per month to reach the same goal. Wait 5 years, and it jumps closer to $690. Wait 10 years, and you might need about $1150 per month. The finish line moves further away the longer you stand still. There is a version of you 40 years from now opening an account and seeing $3.16 million. Planning retirement, not stressed about bills, not working at 73, free to choose. There is another version. 40 years from now, still working, trying to cover prescriptions, relying on Social Security that is not enough, one emergency away from disaster, wondering where all the money went. And the answer will be simple. Car payments. DoorDash. Subscriptions that felt small in 2026 but do not even exist anymore. Both futures are possible. Both are you. The only thing deciding which one becomes real is what you do in the next 30 minutes. Open the account. Set up the transfer. Buy the fund. Automate it. Then forget it and let time do the heavy lifting. Or do nothing and spend the next 40 years wishing you had started. The decision is yours. The math does not pause, and neither does time.